April 1945. Europe is collapsing, the Third Reich is crumbling, Hitler is hiding underground, and in northern Italy a convoy of tired soldiers is rolling toward the Swiss border. Inside one of the trucks sits a man wearing a German greatcoat and helmet pulled low over his face. He thinks he's escaping. He is not, because the local partisans have already stopped the convoy, and they're about to discover that the quiet passenger trying to look like a random soldier is actually Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy. And standing beside him, refusing to leave, refusing to run, and refusing to abandon him even when offered safety, is a 33-year-old woman who knows exactly what will happen next. Her name was Clara Petacci, and within 24 hours she would be dead beside him. Not as a political leader, not as a soldier, but as the woman who chose love over survival at the worst possible moment in modern history. Before we begin, subscribe to History vs. Event and click the notifications bell icon, because sometimes the strangest stories of World War II aren't battles, they're human decisions. Clara Petacci was born in Rome in February 1912 into a wealthy and deeply political family. Her father was a respected physician connected to the Vatican, and like many in Italy during the 1920s, the family admired the rising strongman promising order, pride, and national greatness, Benito Mussolini. Now here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Clara didn't just admire Mussolini. She adored him. We're talking full-scale teenage obsession. As a young girl, she wrote him emotional letters, pages of devotion to Il Duce, the man she believed was saving Italy. After an assassination attempt against him, she reportedly wrote wishing she had been there to defend him personally. Not a casual political opinion, more like a fan club president with unlimited stationery. Years passed. She grew older, married an Italian Air Force officer, and seemed destined for a conventional upper-class life. Then fate intervened in the form of a car. One day, while traveling along a coastal road, Mussolini's famous red Alfa Romeo sped past her vehicle. Clara reportedly ordered the driver to follow him. Imagine chasing a dictator like a celebrity sighting, because to her, that's exactly what it was. They caught up. They spoke. And Mussolini, a man who loved admiration almost as much as power, noticed immediately. Their relationship soon became far more than a meeting. By the early 1930s, Clara Petacci had become Mussolini's mistress. And unlike a hidden scandal, this was an emotional attachment. Mussolini called her frequently, visited her often, and confided in her in ways he never did with officials or even his own family. His wife knew about the affair and tolerated it, largely because challenging the most powerful man in Italy was not exactly a winning domestic strategy. Clara's devotion was absolute. She wasn't interested in politics, power, or ideology. She was interested in him. To her, Mussolini wasn't a dictator. He was the center of her world. And being close to a dictator came with benefits. Her family gained influence, careers advanced, and she was given luxurious residences. She lived the life of someone orbiting power. Then World War II arrived, and everything began collapsing. Italy's military performance was, to put it gently, chaotic. Failed campaigns, reliance on Nazi Germany, and mounting defeats eroded Mussolini's image. By July 1943, his own government removed him from power and had him arrested. Clara was also detained briefly. For a moment, it looked like her story with Mussolini had ended. Then Hitler intervened. In September 1943, German commandos launched a daring operation, the famous Gran Sasso Raid, rescuing Mussolini from imprisonment. Hitler installed him as head of a puppet state in northern Italy called the Italian Social Republic. Clara immediately rushed north to rejoin him. This is the critical point. She could have disappeared into anonymity. The war was turning. Many former supporters fled or switched sides. She didn't.
She chose to stay.
By 1945, the Allies were advancing, German forces were retreating, and partisan resistance fighters controlled much of northern Italy. Mussolini knew the end was near and attempted escape towards Switzerland, possibly hoping to reach Germany. Clara insisted on going with him.
Not forced.
Not ordered. She chose it. On April 27, 1945, their convoy was stopped near the village of Dongo by Italian partisans. They searched vehicle after vehicle, checking identities. Eventually, they spotted a suspicious figure in a German uniform who seemed wrong. They looked closer. It was Mussolini. Clara refused separation and stayed at his side after arrest. Even at that moment, she reportedly could have been released because she held no political office. She declined. The following day, the decision came. Mussolini would be executed, and Clara would not leave him. On April 28, 1945, they were taken to a villa near the village of Giuliano di Mezzegra and told to stand against a wall. A partisan executioner stepped forward with a submachine gun. There are multiple accounts of her final moments, but most agree on one detail. She moved closer to Mussolini, attempting to shield him. The gunfire erupted. Both were killed instantly. But history was not finished. Their bodies were transported to Milan and dumped in Piazzale Loreto, the same location where fascist forces had previously executed Italian partisans. Crowds gathered quickly. Years of war, bombing, hunger, and repression exploded into raw fury. The corpses were beaten, spat upon, and eventually hung upside down from a metal structure for public display. It was shocking, brutal, and symbolic. The regime had fallen, and the anger of a nation erupted onto the bodies of its former rulers. And Clara Petacci, not a general, not a minister, not a policymaker, shared the same fate. News of Mussolini's end traveled quickly to Berlin. Hitler heard what had happened to his ally's body, and especially what had happened to his companion. The public display terrified him. Days later, he made specific arrangements that his own body and Eva Braun's would be burned immediately after death to avoid a similar spectacle. Clara's death, in a strange way, influenced the final hours inside Hitler's bunker. History often records generals and armies. But sometimes history turns on personal decisions. Clara Petacci had countless chances to walk away. In 1943, in 1945, even on the day of arrest. She took none of them. Her story isn't really about politics. It's about devotion, taken to a fatal extreme, colliding with the violent end of a regime. She wasn't executed for governing. She died because she refused to abandon the man whose rise and fall defined an era. Thank you for watching.